Welcome to the Caddo Convos, the podcast that explores the vibrant community of businesses thriving in Caddo Office Reimagined. We're here to shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and professionals who make the most of our private offices, co-working spaces, and day office rentals in the Dallas-Fort Worth suburbs. Join us as we share their stories, celebrate their successes, and dive into the benefits of working in a space that's close to home but offers so much more than working from home. Let's get started with today's conversation. Joining me today on the Caddo Convos is Traci Baskin with Baskin Belief Systems. How you doing, Traci?
I'm doing good.
Great. Well, tell me about your business and what sets you apart.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I would just say that I help guide people back to their free will through the 4 dimensions of human existence, which would be the biological, the social, psychological, and spiritual. Spiritual only really meaning the purpose of any subject of the first 3.
Excellent. Of the 4, I'd say the main areas, biological is first. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's a holistic type of therapy. So when I say biological, social, psychological, and spiritual, those aren't individual, but the person that comes into my office, I figure out where they naturally like to receive information and how they like to teach information. So this is kind of like what we want to do when we are teaching a child. It's kind of like learning styles.
Yeah.
But we all live in those 4, but we naturally gravitate towards one or the other. So a biological learner would be more of, I have to really see it, taste it, smell it, touch it in order to kind of believe it. So how would that help them in therapy, right? Is that, well, I need to communicate your language, right? And so they would basically, I would use these concepts that we have for mental health, and I would kind of lean in that way first. Yeah. And then once they kind of build that confidence of, I'm understanding myself on that biological level, then we can kind of go to the other 3. But usually one or the other, they're usually kind of have too many eggs in one of these baskets.
Yeah.
And we kind of figure that out and kind of even those baskets out.
So would you say that, the 4 main areas, it's almost like a Venn diagram with 4 bubbles that makes up the whole person?
That's
right?
correct.
And that's what you're saying is first meet them where they are.
Yes.
Where if they're having spiritual issues, social issues, biological, and psychological, right? And so you're identifying them that way. Mm-hmm. So how long have you been in business? How long have you been doing this?
Gosh, so I feel like all my life.
but
my degree, if you look at my degrees, my master's, it was probably 2017 when I first started seeing people internship-wise, and then 2019 is when I actually kind of went on my own.
And reading through your services, I mean, my goodness, you help in so many different ways. Talk to me a little bit about Neuro-Relationship Therapy.
Oh, this is my favorite because I developed this theory. Okay, so and it has to do with the 3 parts of the main brain that we kind of all know about. But the limbic system is kind of like the that's where everything is kind of centralized. This is where our belief systems are. So in order to, for the brain to record a belief, you have to have an event and a heightened emotion. So as we're developing through our, what we kind of know 0 to 18, but really to 28, that's kind of what comes in is that we have these 3 ingredients that says, so we can pick anything from why I like strawberries, but my first published book, When Your Soul Breaks the Sexual Person Inside of You, it actually talks about how our brain develops our sexual belief systems. Oh, wow. So NRT is, you can use it for anything, but that's kind of where I'm kind of coming out to. So sexual belief, so your neuro-relationship basically says this is my limbic system and these are my subconscious beliefs. But we have 3 ingredients, which are 3 emotions that the brain has to add together before, like for sex, is okay, this is I'm sexually attracted to this person. And we develop that as we get older.
Oh, wow.
Or as we're, in our our younger years.
Through all the different things that affect us, or or by our choices.
Well, it actually, the brain teaches itself. We always hear, okay, my parents taught me this, this, and this, but really the brain teaches itself. So when I say an event and a heightened emotion, what I'm talking about is, so let's just say that what is our first experience with sex, right? What does that actually even mean? Because we all have our own definition of that. So an example would be, an ingredient could be the brain has to feel emotion, secret, confusion, and then it has to have surprise. So what exactly are those ingredients? So the brain has to have all three of them. They all have to add together before the belief is activated. Okay, that comes out and says, okay, now my behavior says I'm going to seek that. I'm going to go after that. So what secret would be for somebody, right, is totally different from what you would believe or I would believe. So let's just say secret means wisdom to somebody. Okay, wisdom. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Say that the confusion just means, oh, I could be confused in what? Why this person cheated on me. That's really confusing. So, but my brain doesn't know right or wrong. It just knows that that's what that feeling is. So it captures that, and then it would go on to the surprise. Surprise could be, hey, he surprised me with, a dozen roses. The brain just says, oh, this is what this feeling is to me. And I've basically done all the work early on in life. And so now I don't have to think about it. So this is where we get to that question of, okay, why do I still, end up in this relationship? And I still get hurt in all these relationships. This is a common question that we all have, right?
Yeah.
So that would be, okay, well, most time what's happening is that we have our sexual belief system and a life partner belief system. And we try to take this sexual belief system and make it the life partner. And this is where you kind of see, okay, I would never introduce this person to my parents, but I'm so attracted to him. Or the opposite of, man, I really like this person, but I'm just not sexually attracted to him.
Right.
So that's kind of it.
And marrying those two, literally marrying
they
those two.
do it. They do it. People do it all the time, and they get confused.
Yeah, I can see that being confusing, and at my age especially. I've seen it done a lot of things.
That's right. Yeah,
this is really resonating, and you touched on something that was interesting to me, because there's that old saying that you never forget your first kiss.
That's right.
And that's where that surprise is, and all these other things stem from that.
You
right?
can, you can. Goes a lot deeper than that, because it cannot be directly related. Yeah. But it's very similar to that concept.
A lot of situational things occurring there as well.
It's really neat. Yeah.
Interested in talking about what is RTT hypnosis.
Okay. So RTT is called rapid. It stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy. And so Marissa Peer is who actually developed that and she's out of the UK. And she came to California as a psychologist and actually worked with like Jane Fonda, and she developed this hypnosis. And so really in a nutshell, it's a one and done. So you have one session of hypnotherapy and then it's over. Whatever it is that you needed is done. There is, a follow-up of 15-minute calls for 3 weeks, which is the 21 day that says, okay, this is where we, make sure it's rooted. So what's fascinating about this type of hypnotherapy is that it really takes the person a lot deeper than like what you would kind of see a general hypnosis, which is, so just tell me what this is and let's kind of go over this, or, whatever, when you have them under. But it basically puts you in a hypnotic state, which is an alpha wave. Okay. So everybody actually goes through alpha wave twice a day or 2 times in 24 hours. So we are constantly in a beta wave, right? This is when we're alert and we're kind of, seeing everything and we're filtering, right? And judging and stuff like that. So alpha is right when this is the feeling that hypnosis puts you in, is right when you're going to sleep, when you're still aware of everything, but you're not moving and you're kind of dozing off. And then right when you wake up, you start to come out of your theta into your alpha and then into beta. So it's very, very, when we're in alpha, this is where we actually are at during our development years. Our brain is actually in an alpha state of awareness the majority of the time. And it just kind of that's why we hear kids are sponges, right? It's suggestibility. So that's why they tell you, Okay, so say what before you go to bed, right before you go to bed, just ask a question, right? And when you wake up, it'll come to you. You got, I think, Thomas Edison, that we hear these kind of stories, but I teach people how to naturally go into that, and hypnotize themselves, and it's just eye movement.
That's fascinating.
It's
I've
pretty
read
cool.
somewhere, you and I are both business owners,
Yeah.
and we often go to bed with problems. You're like,
Yes.
okay, tomorrow's got its challenges, and someone had, I wish I could credit the person, but it was a book, and part of it was just write down your questions.
That's
like,
right.
before you go to bed, instead of, because your sleeping self might noodle on that, and often, and it's
That's
happened
right.
to me, and as you described, it's like I wake up and I'm like, I got it. I just let my sleeping self solve it. Now, it's not going to solve the world hunger or anything. We're not
It
talking
might, you never
complex
know, yeah.
problems. Maybe so, but that's really fascinating. And hypnosis is one of those things for people who don't know anything about it. It almost seems spooky. How do you demystify hypnosis?
Well, and that's kind of like what I teach people. And, hypnosis is not for everybody. And that's something that is in my practice that I'm really strong about. And these are all different healing modalities, and this is a tool.
Yeah.
So if someone is, scared of hypnosis, I've had that. I describe it just like that. I just say, hey, we are always in these states. You're just putting yourself in there. I'm not doing that. And when we see the people on stage and the comedy shows or whatever, what happens is that they get a whole bunch of people up there on that stage, and then they test them to see how suggestible they are, and and it's rapid eye movement. And so, but they tell everybody to go away that are not as suggestible. That's why you see them do things, but you actually have the power all the time. In hypnosis, people just think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a zombie because of this stage Hollywood kind of filming. So,
Yeah,
but it's that's
fiction
dying
part.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your typical, again, you have a lot of services available to your clients. Who's your typical client?
Well, that's a really hard question.
Or maybe it's too broad.
Well, it's not that it's too broad. It's people, everybody is different. That's kind of like my little motto. It's what is it that they need. So people come in and they always present anxiety, depression. These are like general symptoms or whatever. Obviously relationships that'll get you through a therapy door in a New York minute, right? Any kind of romance. But it really is, I would just tell you, if I were to answer that effectively, I would probably say people come to me, that demographic would be more of like that sexual issue and relationships. So, and that's all different kinds of, sexual orientation to gender to, I've got demographics from, your people that are Medicaid to, very, very, very wealthy athletes or famous people. So.
And we all like stories about people like that. But without naming names, tell me a journey of one of your clients.
Okay.
Someone that came to you, needed help, and where they are now, like how they're succeeding.
Whoa, there's so
many, I'm sure.
I know. Yeah. I didn't even expect that question, right?
Yeah.
Let's say maybe I'll do like a real success story. Of course, those are always nice. So, I do this women's program where I teach financial independence to women that have been in domestic violence, sexual abuse, that are out of shelter. And, there's this one young lady who, it's just, she's got 3 kids. There's no way that she can, get out. Her mother passed away. That's a lot. And I was able to kind of take her through this financial independence. And she was, it took, I would say, about 2 years. Okay. That was some really intensive. So someone can come in and they can work on one thing, peel back a layer, and then they can, work on another. And it's not that it was consistent for that period of time, but it was like the whole full 2 years. But it was, okay, I worked on this. Okay, I'm done. Right. And by the end of that, the journey that, you watch these people go through, and it's their journey. I'm just there guiding, walking right next to them. going from shelter to literally, this blossoming, moved out of state, found her calling, because I do assessments for career. And I mean, you just, whatever that person really needs, we just kind of, give that to them. And then now her kids are in good schools and she's stable. You know what I mean? And it's wonderful. You could take a sexual victim that I had, or survivor, however you want to call that, third world country, a slew from little sexual abuse. Like, I mean, not what we kind of hear in human trafficking, but it was in the family. And we see her, come into America and literally go and get this help. And hypnosis actually was her main launcher, and we see that a lot. Someone will come in for hypnotherapy with rapid transformational for confidence, right? Or an athlete for I want a better serve, or an attorney who's like, listen, I want to be more confident, right? And we'll do that hypnotherapy, and then bam, it's that piece of them is resolved, and then they're able to open up to all of these other areas of their life, and they're just like, wow. And so it's kind of like, that's what I would tell you, like, would be some success stories.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. Yeah. Tell me why you chose Caddo for your office.
Are you ready? I had a feeling you were going to ask me this.
Yeah.
Because
we're here at the North Tarrant location of Caddo Office Reimagined.
That's how we
met.
The reason why I chose it was because it is an Indian tribe. And I am a medicine woman for my tribe. And I actually live in the Keller area, and I actually live off of Caddo.
Okay.
Or Caddo.
Yeah.
So it's that's why I have a lot of indigenous. I'm Native American.
Okay, fabulous.
So, yeah.
And so so I've heard people pronounce it. Now I know the owners call it Caddo, and right. I know I'm a Texan, so there's Caddo Lake, and it's known as Caddo Lake.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I didn't know if it's Caddo. Some people said Caddo, but they're not from here, quote unquote.
Right. So it's funny because me and my son actually just had a debate about that, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so the indigenous, from what I've heard, how they say, that are actually Caddo Indian, I've heard it both ways. So it's not really. I would tell you that it doesn't. I don't know if there's like an actual proper, because we don't really know.
Yeah. And it's hard to be offended by something that you don't have.
Right. But that's kind of how I pronounce it.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I've heard it verbally been told.
So you chose that because it felt like home.
Well, that's exactly. Well, and I loved it so much because of the way that, they have this structured. It's like the modern day business. Mm-hmm. This is how you do it, where you have that. Everything is social, and that is so great for, that's the American dream. To have your own company, a lot of these, businesses that are in here. And then, it's welcoming. All of my, patients are just like, wow, they could go sit in the kitchen, or, it feels like more home. That would probably be like the number one. I'm a very, sit on the front porch therapist. Like, let's kind of like talk, and this is not formal, or I'm very much like that. And that's what this place feels like to me.
Tell me about the best way to reach you. I mean, I was literally reading your website when I was asking you questions, because you have some really great stuff there. But is that the best portal to get to you?
Probably, yeah, that email, or, I do text. I don't do therapy text, but I mean,
communicate.
Yeah, I've got a lot of avenues, and, my website is always, really good, because you can always just ping me in there, but I'm pretty responsive.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And we'll include everything you give me in the show notes. So if you're listening, just scroll down, and all the information that Traci's
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty detailed. You'd mentioned you published a book or more. Let's talk about the first title.
Oh my gosh. So that's exciting. So my book is about teaching people how to do NRT, neuro-relationship, how they can kind of do it on their own. It's a very foreign concept, but it's the first book that I wrote is When Your Soul Breaks. That's a series. It's a thing, but the sexual wisdom inside of you. And so It's a story. It's a heterosexual female, which is it's actually my personal story of how I developed my own sexual beliefs.
Interesting.
And so, a lot of times what happens is that people, they even get their ingredients and there's like, oh my, this is horrible. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not. And we kind of dive a little bit deeper. So the book kind of talks about that. It's not for the faint of heart,
Sure.
Is what I usually tell people. Like my mother couldn't read it,
Right.
but someone that is, just ready to kind of hear that story. And it's, I'm doing different series for different types of sexual orientation. So everybody can actually have, same sex. So if you got female, bisexual, if you've got, gay male, and all in between. So I will have actual live people doing the same type of storytelling.
Oh, terrific.
Okay.
And where can they purchase the program or the books?
That would be baskinbeliefsystems.com.
Gotcha. Just go to the website.
Yeah.
Great.
Everything is on there.
Terrific.
I do assessments and,
Excellent. And you're licensed to practice in Texas? Is that generally where your clientele are from? Makes sense.
So when I'm actually getting my doctorate at the end of August for the clinical sexologist, but I'm about to open up a study for, it's called a self-hypnosis, 5-minute self-hypnosis for erectile dysfunction and female orgasm. And so I'm going to be doing a study on that. That's kind of like what will... And when that comes out, I'll be writing a bunch more books. But I've got a lot of books under my radar there. But
yeah. Well, you clearly have a lot of knowledge to share and people to help.
I developed a program for the state of Oklahoma for this women's type of program, and so I kind of service the indigenous people there. But my licensure, like my RTT hypnotherapy, is international, so I can go anywhere in the U.S. or the world and do it.
That's terrific. So Traci, as we close out the show, what would you say to people out there who they know there's something eating at them, but they're typical people who are like, do I really need help? What would you say to them?
Man, that's, this is what I tell people when they come in and they take that step. It takes a very strong person. Yeah. And when most people, when you're feeling really lost and that kind of state of confusion, or you're just kind of feeling really, really stuck, it could be about anything. I don't care what it is. When you go and talk to someone and allow you to kind of be a reflection back and forth, it changes people's lives. Yeah. And if someone is out there that is kind of going through that, and it just you might need one session. That's happened where, okay, I just needed validation, right? I just needed to know that I was, I wasn't crazy, or it's okay, maybe we just do a little bit more intensive to kind of get, but it really comes down to, if you want to know yourself deep level stuff, then I would definitely come in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Traci, it's been great talking to you today on the Caddo Convos.
Thank you very, very much. It's been nice.
Thank you for joining us today on the Caddo Convos podcast. A huge shout out to our incredible network of members for making our community vibrant and supportive. If you're looking to boost your productivity and reduce the isolation of working from home, consider joining us at Caddo Office Reimagine. Our spaces are designed to meet your evolving needs, support remote work, and foster a sense of community that's hard to find at home. Whether you're a startup aiming for growth, a freelancer seeking a professional setting, or a company looking to optimize resources, Caddo offers a perfect blend of flexibility and innovation. By joining us, you'll be a part of a dynamic business ecosystem that helps you thrive. For more information, visit caddooffices.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Caddo Convos.